Hey guys, let me start off. I'll talk a little bit about the upcoming road swing and then answer any questions you have. Obviously, we got the Paul Atkinson things official, Jack Nolan announcement, but for this road swing, you've got opportunities against teams above you in the standings. So you can, we've climbed a little. You could continue to climb the standings. Georgia Tech specifically, certainly we know them a lot, but it's interesting to see how they've become, I think, a little bit more of an offensive group. They're shooting, scoring. Alvarado really makes them go. And so our defense, which we, really, tried to be more committed to, will be challenged. And then you go to Durham, we'll stay on the road. And we'll go to Durham on Sunday and we get another chance at Duke. If there's one game, we've lost 9 games. We've lost to good teams. We've lost to really good teams. If there's one game that sticks in my craw a little bit was the Duke game here on December 16th, for 2 reasons. One, we had a chance, since we had beaten Kentucky on that Saturday, to beat the Duke and the Kentucky program in a 5-day period, which for our program would have been really cool. And I didn't think we dug in and adhered to our compete drill mentality very good. And I'll take maybe more responsibility than the guys on that. So anyways, we're back to practice today. Yesterday was an off day. They're back into an academic routine. So we're back practicing at 3:15 instead of maybe noon, like we've done for a while. I think it helps the kind of guys we get here when they have an academic routine during the day and then come to practice. I think a little bit too much idle time can be, makes you a little lethargic. So we're back and being active. So fire away. Any guys have any questions? Be happy to answer them.
Okay, we're going to go to Tim Priester first. Tim, if you have a few, just stay on. Let me know when you're done.
Will do. Thank you. Mike, you talked about this the other night, but I wondered if you could elaborate on it a little bit. You talked about how the defense that you played has positively impacted the offense. Can you elaborate upon that?
Yes, and again, I'll go back to our analytic that we have been hanging our hat on. We maybe moved away from kills, which is an awesome analytic, 3 stops in a row, but to stop scores, to see the reward of getting a stop and a defensive rebound or a steal or a deflection and being able to come down the court a little quicker. And I would say maybe it's not a fast break, but early offense, and where the defense is not set. And it's really, it's helped us. And I think, the carrot is they're seeing what they're getting offensively, and it's a fun way to play. So continue to work on the defensive end. And so we've made some progress there, and, we got to continue to sell that.
I was just going to say, are stats like that a carrot for the players?
No question, Tim. I mean, and, between that and then what we do in our practice routine, we keep coming back to our compete drill stuff. We do it 1-on-1 a lot. Sometimes we do it 2-on-2, but it's mano-a-mano, you between your dude in the bucket, and can you get the loose ball? And, you don't have to do it for 30 minutes. You got smart guys, and they've carried over the emphasis, but we got to taste it every day.
The defense against Duke was probably the low point of the year for you guys this year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think we were all over the place. And
so again, that's a carrot though for them going into the game.
Yes. No, we've seen some rewards of it, and again, like I said, the stop score analytic has been an intriguing one, and our guys are like today. We couldn't go yesterday. Today we're going to watch. We had 17 stop scores against Wake. We'll watch 12 of them. That's really the feedback I'm giving them from the game, to keep emphasizing that.
The last time I asked you about Atkinson, you couldn't talk about him. I've interviewed him and I've seen a lot of film of him. That's a difference maker for, especially when you throw him into next year's group, next year's veteran group.
Yeah, Tim, I mean, I think for us, I think, we talked about it. Can you hit a grand slam in that spot that Juwan is leaving, leaving with returning experience around him? And I think we pretty much did. That was the best fit for us on all fronts, certainly being a Yale grad. The graduate degree that Nick Jogo's getting and Rex got was very enticing, but more enticing was, as I've talked to him, starting back in probably December, early December, maybe late November, was you plug in with 4 guys that experienced and play the right way, showing him our assist to turnover, how we feed the post, how we use a big guy, but you're playing with guards who know how to play and want to play with a good big guy. And to his credit, he really looked at the whole package, and he's not going to visit. You can't sit there and wait on it. He jumped on it. And so there's no question you find yourself thinking about next year's group at times, even this year, when you have him coming to us. And he would come in June. He's going to finish his Yale degree up there. He's in New Haven with his classmates, and I think that's really cool. And then we'll get him here in June. In the meantime, as you saw, the USA basketball experience is unbelievable for him. I don't know how much he'll play. He's the only college guy, but being in practice with those men and being around them, I mean, he deserves it. After having an Ivy League season snatched from him, he was going to be the Ivy League Player of the Year, and he doesn't even get to put the uniform on.
Yeah.
So for him to have this experience is so deserving, and it's good for us and good for him.
Last thing for me on Trey Wertz, he's a guy that he can score on all 3 levels for you. He gives you a boost. His body language on the court, doesn't always look like a guy that's totally engaged. I know he is. That's just who he is. But just what are your points of emphasis with him as you try to get some string together some really consistent performances?
He actually was on the TV show that we taped this morning, and Jack Nolan asked, what's one thing you hear from Coach Brey? And he said, get that motor up. So after him about that motor and that engine being up and battling, and he's improved defensively. Now he has got a great basketball IQ, and he's an excellent passer and sees the floor. And I think he's still kind of how to fit in with Prentice and all these other guys. But the compete drill's been good for him. Let me put it that way. Keeping that motor up, because he's got a lot to give. And so and I think he's getting more comfortable now. And it's an amazing story. He was supposed to be sitting out, and he's starting. It's crazy. But we need that motor up every day, and we stay on him about it.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick Engel, you're up.
Mike, you touched on it earlier with this trip being a chance to play 2 teams above you in the standings. As you look at the league as a whole and kind of see, teams kind of struggling to go 3 or 4 in a row because everybody's kind of beating everybody, what do you look at this opportunity and just the rest of the season as far as what you guys can do and how you can kind of see yourselves finishing, or what a goal would be?
Well, we've been here many times, not only, in the ACC, but the Big East, where the league is punching the heck out of each other, and you're looking to kind of jump up a spot. You're looking to beat somebody with a higher net than you to kind of give yourself some quality wins. The one thing we've done in the last 2 weeks is our net has got to within striking distance. It's 72, I believe, today, from a 105, before the Pitt game. So you're getting in the vicinity. Last year's team really got in the vicinity. Their net was 52 at the end of the day, and again, most likely an NIT team, but you made a run to the edge of it. And that's kind of the territory we're in here. And then road wins obviously really, count a lot. The one thing that I think I know is in the net, and I don't completely understand it, is your efficiency. And winning by a big margin the last two games, I think, had an effect on our net going from 105 to 72 with 2 wins. You know, the margin of victory and the efficiency, I think, is more in there somehow, but only 3 guys in their basement somewhere know the equation. I certainly don't.
And then about Georgia Tech in particular, Alvarado, you touched on him. What does
Yeah.
he give him as far as a guy who kind of pressures the ball and then can kind of seemingly is developed as a scorer into kind of scoring anywhere?
Yeah, like I said, it's interesting to see the morphing of the Georgia Tech program under Josh. You know, defense beat you up with big guys, and now it become a little bit more of an offensive group as they've gotten older. And so, you know, we played against some good guards, and, you know, you have to have that awareness when he uses a ball screen to stay with him a little longer. Do you trap it a little bit to get it out of his hands to make some other people make plays? So again, I think an amazing challenge for our defense with those weapons. And can we get into a stop score mode enough like we have the last 2 weeks more often than not?
And then the last one for me on stop scores is part of how much of the kind of shift from kills to that goes in hand with the offensive part of a stop score, and particularly creating live ball situations that prevent that
Yeah.
lead to
Well,
runouts and stuff.
Yeah, it's a total shift. Yeah, don't get me wrong, 3 stops in a row is really powerful, and we hung our hat on that. And I think kills is something that's in a lot of programs. And but for them to see the value of the stop on the other end of the floor, that we can get into early offense and stretch and move it, and we do have some great passers and hub and transition, you know, lately. And really, he's really good with the ball, but lately it's a clinic, you know, how he's making decisions, and he's making them so unselfishly in a free mind. And you know what and guys run because they know if they run, they'll get the ball. What you see a lot of times, and guys will stop running because that guy's not going to throw it to me, so I'm not running. We run because we know we'll get the ball. So you know, again, defensive stance and stop, and you got to dig in. But look what it's getting us on the other end of the floor, and so it's something we're hanging our hat on. And I think for this group, it's important.
I actually have one quick follow up on the I guess the equation of a stop score. Do you only count made baskets, or do you include shooting fouls?
No, if we get fouled, because that's a team foul and a personal foul, that would be a score. Even if we miss the free throw or miss the front end of the 1-and-1 or make only one, or we're taking it out of bounds, that's a positive offensive possession. So we count that as a score because it's a team foul and a personal foul.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to move on to Mark Skull from WNDU.
Hey, Coach, you've taken pride, and you've said the last couple of weeks during this nice stretch you've been on that the team needs to be playing with more defensive effort, a better defensive stance. Is there anything different now that you are focusing on? Because it's obviously worked, but anything different now that you're focusing on that can take the team to another level during this next stretch?
Well, I'd like to see us stay in this mode. I think we've seen that better stances and better communication amongst the 5 on the court, playing as one. You can talk about that. We didn't really do that much. We'd have some spurts where we played defense. And again, I hold myself accountable the most, as you're trying to figure out your team. I don't know if I held everyone's feet to the fire on that end of the floor enough. And so that has helped. But I think like anything, when a group sees themselves having success doing it, it is such a motivator, to continue to do it. And the carrot of, well, look what we got in transition because of the stop and the defensive rebound. Wow, that's a fun way to play. And so that mentality has been good for the teacher to sell.
Awesome. And then obviously Jack Nolan announced his retirement
Yeah.
today. What has he meant to the Notre Dame basketball program? And obviously you've gotten to be closer to him than most. Are there any funny or favorite behind the scenes memories you have with Jack?
Well,
That's
I
it for
sure
me.
have. I mean, he's like a brother and a great friend. And you think back of all the shows and radio and post game and all the interaction we've had. I mean, you really do a lot together. And thought about it a lot, in the last week. He and I talked about this coming maybe in the summer. He mentioned about his purchase of a place in Florida, and he was really thinking about it, and Rhonda was thinking about it. So I wasn't completely surprised. And I told him, I said, I feel you. And I think, I agree with you. It could be a good time to get to the next phase. He's the ultimate professional. Nobody prepares more than Jack Nolan. His preparation is unbelievable. The guy's watching game film on his computer on planes at 2 a.m, and he's just amazing. And I'm going to miss him. There's no question your radio guy and TV guy is your therapist some days, right? When you come in and you've had a tough stretch, and Jack talks you off the ledge sometimes, and maybe I've talked him off the ledge sometimes too. So we are family along those lines. But we've had a lot of fun with each other. It's hard for me to picture chemistry with another announcer, because we just kind of played off of each other for so long. But I just the ultimate pro at what he did. He trained a bunch of our guys in, LaFonso Ellis, Jordan Cornette. Those guys may owe him a percentage. He trained them on the radio, and now they're off doing ESPN. Zach Hillsland, we've had Martin Inglesby. Everybody's been trained by Jack. So I'm glad we're going to finish the season with him. And but he's a true friend and the ultimate professional. And man, did he represent Notre Dame and Notre Dame basketball, with class.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go next to Darren Pritchett.
Coach, just another question on Jack, if you don't mind. I've always felt like the broadcaster is almost another voice or spokesman for, in your case, the Notre Dame basketball program. What did he mean to he was so positive and so, like a fan sitting with a microphone wrapped around his mouth?
Well, I think you could always argue. There's no question. I think you could argue at times like, Jack would sugarcoat it or try to frame it. And there's many times I think in the radio show or after a game, I'd say, no, we stunk and we got to be better, and would back him down. But an upbeat guy, a positive guy, a guy who really knew the game, who really, watched practice and got a feel for the players and the personalities, knew the other team, knew the league. He knew the Big East. He got to know the ACC and the coaches and their philosophy. He studied. And so the utmost respect for him. But you're right. He was a great voice and a respected voice for our program. And we'll miss that.
Coach, I'll second that. I've never seen a broadcaster watch as much video as him. It's pretty remarkable.
No, he watches more than the assistants. It's unbelievable. And I'd look over sometimes, and he had it purring on the way to, Providence, and he'd watch another tape, and just an amazing, always prepping and smooth, and didn't miss a beat, and always thinking. It was impressive being around him. He was an inspiration to me and our staff with his professionalism and his preparation.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom Noy, you're up.
Mike, going non-Notre Dame, big picture college basketball.
Yeah.
What was it like for you when you were working in the Big East, knowing you had a guy like Dan Gavitt in your corner?
Well, he was really good, Tom. You and I have talked about him at times, and he knew how to talk to coaches. He'd come in your locker room here before the UConn game or on the road before the Pitt game, and he knew how to talk to you, and then he'd get the hell out of there. He knew when to get out. And son of a coach, was a coach, just a finger on the pulse guy. Always had a finger on the pulse in dealing with the basketball coaches in the Big East. And I think we all really appreciated it and all really respected it. He was a voice of reason. As you know, coaches can get emotional in meetings or during a season. He always was able to bring it down to a level, and cooler heads would prevail. And I think he's been an amazing addition to the NCAA. And my God, you talk about a man in crisis management. I've tried to text him a couple times, through the summer and the fall, like, man, just keep doing your thing and hang in there. We, appreciate you, just because he is I can only imagine, the daily fires he is putting out trying to get this tournament going in 6 weeks.
You can imagine everything he's had to deal with, but also just how hard this has been for him, knowing his background, his love for basketball, and just it's staggering what he's had to go through for the last 12 months, isn't it?
It's the ultimate crisis management. It's amazing, and of course we tried to hire him, especially me personally as president of the NABC. I tried to hire him as Jim Haney's replacement, and he turned us down in April, and he stayed in the fire at the NCAA. God bless him, and the NBC has hired a great one in Craig Robinson. I think it's really almost worked out great. You got Danny and you got Craig Robinson now. It almost worked out better where we got those two guys handling college basketball. Now, when we get out of the crisis, whenever the hell that is, I think you'll see those two guys flowing on issues that we need to address. But I can't imagine. And he's handled he's had to handle coaches who, we need to do this and we need to do that. And he's always said, well, everybody take a deep breath. Here's our plan. Relax. This is what we're doing. And really, he's given us some poise outwardly, publicly. I'm not sure it's there all the time privately. It can't be. But he's given us some poise publicly where us as coaches are like, all right, I think Dan's got this thing. We're going to figure it out.
What allows him to connect with people? Like he's always like, he can mediate things like Mike Trahese used to say, I just turned him loose in meetings or with coaches and knew that the job would always get done.
There's no ego at all. Absolutely no ego. An amazing feel for people and a real feel for coaches. His dad handled the Big East characters in the coaching world in the Big East when it was the all-time, it was a circus, with the personalities. He watched his dad handle all those guys. And I think the apple does not fall far from the tree as far as how to talk, when to talk, when to check in, when not to overreact. And I know it was just the utmost respect when we were in Ponte Vedra and Jacksonville in the Big East meetings, and Dan would take the show. It was, in Dan we trust. Dan, what do you think we should do? I give him credit, man. I hope he gets some kind of break after we get through the NCAA tournament, because I know it's been a circus on a daily basis since last March.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, that's it. We got through all the questions.
Okay, thank you.